Hello everyone, ex-Walk Hill Bethelite here. And let me talk a little bit about a few things that I noticed weren't right at Bethel before the Bethel layoffs. Because the Bethel layoffs was definitely a shock, but it was accompanied by a number of events prior to it, where it really made me think, scratch my head, what's going on here? This isn't the Bethel that I read about in the Watchtower. And one of the first things that I noticed was early on, because you don't immediately know what congregation you're going to. Bethelites are sent an hour out in any direction to a number of congregations. You don't know which one is going to be yours. So we're assigned a congregation. And then a Bethel Elder takes us to our first meeting. Me and another young man were riding in the back seat of the car, where the Bethel Elder and his wife were seated up front. And we're new. We don't know all the rules to Bethel yet, because keep in mind, a lot of people don't know virtually anything about Bethel. How would you know when you're freshly new there? So this Bethel Elder, we go to the Kingdom Hall and have a meeting. Well, after the meeting, we ride with the Bethel Elder back to Bethel. And the Bethel Elder then demands us to pay him for the ride to the Kingdom Hall. Now, that's something I wasn't fully aware of prior to coming to Bethel. You're not aware of that. So I can fully understand why the other Bethelite that got there the same time I did, why he didn't have any money on him. So here you have this, not just an elder in the congregation, but he has the title of Bethel Elder. Hop out of the car. He hops out of the car because the other guy, I hand them the money that they asked for, and the other guy said, well, I'll have to get you guys later. I don't have any money on me. And I get out on the right side. I'm on the right side. He was on the left. So I get out on the right side after I hand the money, and the other guy gets out on the left. Well, the Bethel Elder hops out also, quickly. And he was very upset as he scolded the new Bethelite for not having money on him for the trip. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses are all over other churches about passing a basket around. Passing a basket around and people putting money in it. Oh, they're all focused on money there at that church. Well, at least at that church, people have a choice as to whether or not they're going to put money in or not. This Bethelite did not have a choice as to whether or not he was going to pay for that ride to the Kingdom Hall. Keep in mind, I'm at Walk Hill. I'm at the farm. I'm not at Brooklyn, where you would ride the subway to the Kingdom Hall. So that was one of the first things that I noticed, was the importance of money at Bethel. A place where you're just receiving a small little reimbursement each month. But you still had people with their hand out. Any opportunity to make a buck, they were looking for it. Even if it meant to go and take something that didn't belong to them. But if they worked in the meat processing or the slaughterhouse and they wanted to make an extra buck, well, they could go grab some of those steaks or grab some of that sausage and sell that on the side to other Bethelites. Now, that's not something that was supposed to be going on, obviously. But here in God's house, we seem to be very focused on material things to the point that we don't even care about our brothers. We wouldn't take a brother to the Kingdom Hall. A new Bethelite, at least the first ride, okay, the first ride is free. The next time, bring us some money for the ride to the meeting. At least the first ride be free, right? The first ride, not only are you going to, charge people for it, but make a scene if someone doesn't have it. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is? First time going to the Kingdom Hall in a new congregation, somebody hops out the car and yells at you for not having money on you. So that's one of the first things that I noticed that I didn't have an answer for. That's not something we read about in the Watchtower or the Awake or back then the Kingdom Ministry. There was nothing mentioned anywhere about if you go to Bethel, you'll be charged to get to the Kingdom Hall. See, so that doesn't seem quite right now, does it? Another thing that I noticed, keep in mind this thing about being charged for rides and people not being kind enough to let it slide sometimes. The Bethel Elder wasn't kind enough to let it slide sometimes. Another thing that happened prior to the layoffs were older men and much younger girls. See, so at East Poughkeepsie congregation, new Bethelites would get up on the stage and introduce themselves. And I've mentioned this before. A man goes up on the stage. Now, he's from Patterson. I hadn't met him prior to that day at the Kingdom Hall. I'm from Wallkill. He was from Patterson. A man goes up there on the stage. Older white man, glasses. If I remember correctly, he was about 56 years old. And a girl is standing next to him on the stage. She goes up there also. And she looks to be about, 18. She looked 16, but she was 18. Is what she said. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is, a Bethelite here, this man. And then this girl, she must just be new also. And they, because me and the other Bethelite that was new, we both went up on stage together. So I'm thinking these two Bethelites from Patterson, they're not married or anything. They're just new, so they both went up on stage together at the same time. No, he introduces her as his wife. At Bethel, you got 56-year-old men in a relationship with an 18-year-old girl. I don't know how many of you have kids, but at 18, a lot of people are very much still kids. Definitely not on the same level as a 56-year-old man. And he took advantage of it. Because there was a night at the hall where that elder opened his briefcase to go and grab his glasses, and his glasses were bent. And he yells at his wife. I almost yelled her name. He yelled at his wife. What'd you do with these glasses? Look at them. And she comes over there just like this was his daughter, with her hands folded, head down. How did it break? And the guy said, well, because you just put things in my bag any old kind of way. Next time, be more careful. This is how he treats his wife. This 18-year-old little kid married to this 56-year-old overbearing, domineering man who has this young girl preparing his briefcase for him before meetings. He gives her assignments to do. This little slave. That is so blatantly, obviously wrong. And when he introduced her as his wife, the whole congregation's quiet. Because it wasn't just me that noticed something ain't right here. The whole congregation was quiet. Look at this old man, this little kid. I mean, she's 18, legal. But normally, legal for someone maybe 20, maybe 24, not 56. And that's what you saw. So this is Bethel. This is supposed to be the example for the entire organization. And this guy is a Bethel Elder at Patterson. So I guess every guy that's a Jehovah's Witness, if that's the example of Bethel, they should be looking for women who are like 40 years younger than they are. Everybody, we should all have wives who are kids then, if Bethel is the example, because they had to apply, reapply as a couple. I seriously doubt that this man just got to Bethel at 56 because he was a Bethel Elder. So he had to apply as a couple with an 18-year-old girl. Bethel looked at this application and said, 56-year-old man, 18-year-old kid, little girl, black girl. Yeah, this is what we want. We'll accept them. Bring them in. This is the couple we want here at Bethel. Old men and young girls. That's what we want. And I noticed the same thing during lunchtime, where you have an older man and there'd be younger guests there. And these younger guests, you would think, are being pursued by the younger Bethelites, but you'd have to fight off these older men. These 50-plus-year-old men are who's pursuing these young girls. It was unbelievable. I'm talking old men at Bethel just huddled around these tables. They go sit with the young girls. Pursue them. So again, Watchtower, is all over what they call the world. And, the relationships out there. But within Watchtower, you got old men not only lusting after young girls, but marrying them, and Bethel saying that's okay. Yeah, let's bring them in as a couple. And they're dominating these young girls. And who do these young girls have to talk to? What's their way out? This little kid is going to say, hey, I want to divorce you to this 56-year-old this elder. No, she's probably miserable and has no clue how to get out of that. So they're essentially trapping them, because when I talk about the things that happen at Bethel, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses just don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Oh, you're just upset about something. They don't know what. They don't really know, but they just don't want to hear it, so that's their excuse. Imagine this girl. Who does she have to talk to? The whole organization doesn't want to hear anything bad about Bethel, so they don't care about her or the situation she's gotten herself into. None of the elders at her congregation advised her against this. Her family, Bethel, supposedly cares about people. They didn't care about this young little girl. They didn't advise her against that. They accepted it. So it's not that far-fetched then. When you see how Bethel treated the young Bethelite that didn't have money for the ride, didn't care about him. They want to give me the money. These are the Bethel elders. These are the people that are the example. They didn't care about that young man. You got a young girl here being taken advantage of by an old 56-year-old man. Bethel didn't care about her. See, it wasn't just me. There were others that they may not be making videos, but there were others that had situations at Bethel also. These are all things that I'm bringing up because oftentimes Jehovah's Witnesses like to, in order to keep people from looking at the truth about their organization, they like to be defensive. Oh, he's just upset about something. No, it wasn't just me that was affected there at supposedly the house of God. See, there were others that were adversely affected. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that I noticed before the Bethel layoffs. One of them that I have brought up before is the racism. Yet again, another Bethel Elder, where it got so bad that I had to talk to the department overseer. And nothing was done about it. Again, Bethel didn't care. Nothing was done about it. As a matter of fact, that person found out that I reported them. And because of their conduct. And the things that they were saying about not just blacks, but Mexicans. And, there are quite a few people that are Jehovah's Witnesses that are in Spanish congregations. Well, they would be happy to know, I'm sure, that Bethel supports racism against people that are Spanish speaking. Because that's what this man was, and, he afterwards was invited to give a memorial talk. Nothing happened. So, Bethel, from the inside, was so blatantly, obviously not what I was told, that the only defense mechanism I had in my mind, we call it cognitive dissonance, was that over time, maybe, Jehovah's going to clear all this out. Maybe that's what's going to happen. But that's where the layoffs come in. It wasn't necessarily the Bethel elders that were laid off that I've mentioned. It was, people who were older, maybe. People they didn't like. People that just were in the wrong department at the wrong time. See, it wasn't God's hand taking these men who, you don't see a flood of men with young girls leaving Bethel, do you? You don't see whoever okayed these older men with these young girls leaving, do you? You don't see Tony Tight Pants Morris with his $800 worth of liquor leaving, do you? You don't see Jeffrey Jackson openly stating at court that it's presumptuous to say that they alone have the truth. You don't see him being sent out. So here you have the pattern. The people who are in the wrong, they're not the ones leaving. So the layoffs obviously wasn't Jehovah clearing anything out. It was just Watchtower downsizing because they're being exposed. People are leaving and they're losing money. So we'll discuss more about Bethel, and this is important because my awakening started before. It was a long process, and I wasn't completely awoke when I got laid off from Bethel. It took some time, but the process started before that. The layoffs wasn't the number one thing that woke me. It started before that. It was an accumulative thing. So it wasn't just the layoffs that caused concern. So 937-789-4029. We'll discuss more. Ex-Walkill Bethelite signing out.